Hey guys, it's Justin again with another Tutorial Tuesday video. This time we're going to talk about post shading. Before I've talked about pre-shading, I've talked about color modulation or panel lighting and some other things like that, pre-shading. But post shading is a technique that I like a lot because it works the same way that pre-shading does, but I feel like it's a little bit less stressful on your hand. I feel like it's easier to do. I feel like there's not as much work time. I feel like it cuts your work time down. It looks just as good, if not better. So these parts here have already been post shaded. They look like pre-shade. It looks basically the same. Now the difference between pre-shading and post shading, especially using the panel lighting technique, the biggest difference is you're going to be laying down an entire base coat of your shade line color on the entire part. So for an example, this entire middle section is going to be blue. Or well, it's going to be white, but then my pre-shade color for white is blue. So I'm going to lay the whole thing down is going to be blue on both sides. Then I'm going to come in, and instead of tracing lines, you sort of fill in the middle area with your color, and you try and keep it as even as you can, and then you'll pull back and you'll do like a nice blend over top of everything, and it helps to decrease some of the contrast, and you move on. So I'm going to head over to the paint booth. I'm going to prime all this stuff up, and then once the primer dries, I'll show you how I lay down a base coat. It's not really necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then I will post shade a couple of pieces for you. We'll come back, we'll look at them, and we'll wrap this up. So I'll see you guys in just a second. Okay, welcome back to my ugly spray booth. Got all my pieces primed up. We're ready to start shading. Now, the most appropriate time to do post shading is when, well, I mean, you post shade whenever you want. It doesn't really matter. But the best time I've found to do it is when there's a lot of small details, like on RG kits, and you don't want to try and trace all those lines. Like this isn't a very good example for a piece, but like on these wings, for example, nobody wants to take the time to trace all of that, which, I mean, it can be done, but it's not fun. It's very stressful. It really wears down on your hand, things like that. So the way post shading works is, like I said before, you will go ahead and lay down a full base coat of your shade color, which I'm going to do right here in a second, and then you'll come in and you'll block in your main color and then blend it all together. So here's what I mean. So there's one of the parts. I mean, naturally you can still see the primer color inside, but that's not that big of a deal. And as long as it's nice and smooth, I can already, you can keep going. Oh God. That's not good. I'll be right back. Okay, so I sent this piece flying across the room, but I found it and I re-clipped it using a toothpick. Now, I'm not going to spray all these parts on camera, but just want to give you an idea. Now, this is going to be, it's like a yellow-orange, so I don't have to spray this whole thing if I don't want to, so I'm not really going to. And I might come back later and hand brush some metallics in there. I don't know yet. Depends on how I'm feeling, I guess. Okay, so once you lay down your blue, you're going to want to go ahead and let that dry for a couple minutes. And then you can start spraying down your base color. Now for this, like I said, I'm using blue. I'm going to go ahead and lay down white. In this instance, I'm using Mr. Colors Character White. Again, it's lacquer. I think you know all this already. So here's the whole process. I'm trying to zoom in and get all this on camera. This is where things get tricky. Okay, so the idea is you're going to want to start spraying. Make sure your paint spray is nice, how you want it. You just come in real lightly and you just start filling that in. I think my pressure's too high. Give me 1 second. Okay. There we go. So, very lightly fill that in. And you don't want to fill the whole thing in. You don't have to fill the whole shape. But you want to stay kind of close to the middle. Stay away from the edges. And you want something that'll look a little bit like that. That side might need a little bit more. Here we go. Now, once you achieve this kind of look, you want to go back and you just want to mist your color over. Now this is a little heavier than I'm going for, so I'm going to do it one more time, I think, and try and get that color to blend. I still want you to be able to see the blue, but I don't want it to be very prominent. I want the blue to be very, 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 very light. There we go. Or something like that. So, I'll do it on another piece for you. I'll do a little more complicated piece. I'll get these out of the way. Oops. Like I said, I think post shading is a little easier on some of these more complicated parts with smaller details. You don't have to be exact, although it helps. And I'll probably even come back in here and do a little bit of masking. Maybe put like a blue line on the wings. Something like that. But there we go. So the wings are shaded. There's a little spot right there I missed. Looking better. So I think you get the idea at this point. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in all these pieces, and I'll keep going. But you basically do this the same way you would with shading using your colors. You can do it with black as well. It becomes a different technique when you use black. I might do a video on that later. We'll see. But either way, that's the end of this video. My camera's almost dead. So I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Later.